All right, everybody, welcome back to America's Mom. Thank you guys for joining us. Hope you had a great weekend. I know that there's a lot going on in the world. There always is. Like I said, over the weekend is the worst time to go check everything out and see what's happening. By Monday, you're already over inundated with all kinds of political nonsense and deep state narratives, and you're like, what am I even supposed to believe? I wanted to shine a positive light before we get into all of this not so positive stuff we're going to talk about today. I wanted to shine a positive light on DNI, the Secretary of DNI, Department of National Security is what that is. And that is Mr. Bill Pulte. Bill Pulte has been doing things that the American public does not know about. And I can tell you this because I didn't realize he'd been doing this. I'm paying attention, especially to the appointees. I'm paying attention to those people because they are enacting the will of President Trump. And I realized you need to follow Bill Pulte on X. Okay. He's posting this stuff on X. You need to go follow him, go get on there, follow his X. He says, since becoming acting director of national intelligence, our team has been smartly and carefully reducing the size of the ODNI, national intelligence community. By the way, uh, refocusing ODNI on national security, the law, and the statute. As of this evening, we just finished a fourth round of thoughtful, measured layoffs. 50 people were laid off last night. That comes after roughly an additional around 150 additional layoffs since Pulte took office. This is the kind of stuff we've been expecting. Now, I'm very surprised that Pulte is pulling this off because the bureaucracy that surrounds these offices, the establishment, there was more to it too with Bill Pulte, by the way. A lot of these people that he's laying off, they've been there for 20, 30 years. They're not newcomers. They didn't just arrive with him or the previous administration. They've been there, they're lifetimers. They are directly a result of what we have going on in our country right now because people didn't stand up, didn't say anything. Maybe they are in agreement with the direction that national intelligence was taking our country and the world. I don't know. But I wanted to give you that little bit of good news. The bureaucracy under national security is being dismantled right now. It seems to me that that's probably um, what is South Dakota Barbie, Christy. I honestly already forgot her name
Christy
now.
Nome.
Thank you. Christy Nome was supposed to be doing. I realized she was at DHS. Don't tell me that I already know that. But those are the kind of things they were supposed to be doing is getting rid of the old that had gotten us where we are and replacing with those who understand what's happening and are willing to put our country first and defend and support our country instead of weaponizing the legal system against our own citizens. So Bill Pulte, Pulte, go follow his account. I'm super excited about that. I'm not just looking for something to be happy about. That is something to be happy about. Getting lifetimers out of national security is very, very important to changing the narrative and the positioning of America at large. If you don't want the neocons directing the conversation, we have to get rid of them. Thank you, Bill Pulte. And that is your public service happy announcement as we kick off America's Mom Show today. I am joined by none other than Mondays with the Mister. We've decided Mondays with the Mister because he is always so much fun to talk to, and I'm always wishing people could hear our conversations. They are so unbelievably ridiculous, but they're on point. They're absolutely on point. Just slightly ridiculous and colorful. And so we're going to have a ridiculously colorful conversation with you today. Thank you for joining me today on America's Mom. I appreciate it.
Yeah, what are we doing like as a society without those 200 employees in the federal government? How are we even functioning? I mean, if we don't feel it when hundreds of employees are laid off in the federal government, why do we have them there in the first place? I guess the question, why are we rehiring? And maybe we aren't. And as you said many times, maybe there's things going on behind the scenes that we don't see. But at the very least, I mean, I don't want a lot from this current administration, other than maybe they just cut the federal government by about 90% or so. That's all I want. And is that too much
And
to ask?
and send Congress home. Send Congress
By
home.
Congress,
Yeah, bye. You get
how
to
would we
come
function without them?
so much better.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I hate to say it, so much better. So much better.
Well,
I'm
we
going to
watched
now.
my kids had me rewatch the Hunger Games recently. And one of the things that they do is that they propagandize people so badly that the messaging is over and over and over again. We're here to keep you safe. You can't function without us. We've had so much peace because we're in charge. All the things that are exact opposite of what they're saying. But you still hear, especially the boomers and the Fox Newsers and stuff like that, they're just repeating the same old, same old. And I think we're like either in or we're approaching a Hunger Games scenario here. And we have been for a while where they've convinced us that we can't live without them. Because I mean, there are still a lot of people out there that want more government, govern me harder, daddy, please.
Harder
Watch
and
me
harder.
harder, put up more cameras, give me more taxes to pay, all this
Yeah.
stuff. And as the the whoever the was it Peter Thiel or one of these guys said, whoever's in charge of the flock cameras, what price are you willing to pay for your safety? And I'm sitting there thinking, I'll actually pay a real hefty price if you just disappear. And if all the flock cameras disappear, I'd pay for that. But I'm not
Well,
going to pay a dime if I have a choice for what you call safety. That's ridiculous.
I'm glad that we're tracking because you don't even know what the schedule is for today's show, but somebody is getting the money. Okay. Some mayor is getting the money. This is out of Troy, New York. Some mayor is getting the money for the flock cameras. We are talking about the flock cameras. Remember, go to dflock.org to figure out where flock cameras are near you. And we have this crazy, it is totally, we are on the side of the flock camera CEO on this show. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. Okay. We are all about the peace and safety of it. But here's the thing, when the people actually vote and the city council votes to get rid of the flock cameras, but your mayor is crying and holding the line, she was given a lot of cash to keep this thing going. You guys are not going to believe this. Just in light of what you're saying, Neil, take a listen, take a look at this. Public emergency, she declares, since the city council voted down the flock cameras. Take a listen.
Mayor calls this an act of violence that was done by an unhinged individual. The vandals struck at 3 separate locations in the Collar City. Automated license plate reading cameras, ALPRs, also referred to as flock cameras, were destroyed sometime overnight at a time when these cameras have stirred up a great deal of controversy in the city.
There's been a nationwide concern about flock cameras. Some people feel like they need to take matters into their own hands when their government is not. It's unfortunate.
Deirdre Shea is with the organization Deflock Troy, a group that has been involved in a concerted effort for there to be reasonable guidelines and oversight for the data collected by the cameras. If these cameras help police solve crimes, if they help them take bad people off the streets, you could argue that that's a good thing.
Absolutely, but there has to be balance, right? And right now that this technology is totally unrestricted and can be used without a warrant, right? Do you want somebody to be following you around town without a warrant? You want there to be probable cause, you want there to be a due process, right? And there aren't any rules around that right now.
In a joint statement from Mayor Carmela Mantello and Police Chief Dan DeWolf, they point out these acts do nothing to improve our community. Enough is enough. Troy deserves better than this, and together we will continue working to preserve and protect the community we all love. Deirdre Shea.
Listen, Mayor Carmelo is ignoring the fact that it was voted by the city council to remove the flock cameras, which she refused to do, so the citizens helped. What do you say?
Well, I mean, the poor camera was assaulted for just doing its job. So I do feel I don't know, some sympathy toward the camera. Poor thing. I'll tell you what needs to be taken out to solve this is not the cameras themselves. They do need to be taken out, but how do we take out the cameras and keep them out? Because they'll just be replaced. You got to take out the people that are making the decisions to put the cameras up. Now, I'm not condoning violence. I'm saying they need to be politically removed. They need to be peacefully removed. We need to have uh, local town meetings, concerned citizen meetings. We need to figure out who's voting for these things. We need to, we need to gather the forces together of the communities who don't want these things and vote the people out or hold emergency votes and get these people out and then put people in that will make sure this stuff does not enter in our communities. Because despite what The President Trump, the current version of President Trump, despite what he currently says about everybody that's smart wants these flock cameras and data centers in their town, most people don't. And the way you figure that out is just talk to people around your town.
Oh my God.
Everybody knows. Everybody
Everybody.
knows that everybody does not want these. But again, it's like a Hunger Games scenario where it's mandatory viewing and it comes on at 5 o'clock every night. Mandatory viewing, some authority comes on and says how they're keeping us safe and peaceful through whatever freaking way they're, you know, governing
Trying.
us harder
Hmm.
through their camera systems, their data centers, whatever there is. I mean, breaking news. These people actually think that these cameras that are surveilling us are going up to keep surveillance on us.
Right.
They actually think that. What's wrong with people? You think these
It's
surveillance cameras are actually surveilling us? And
right.
not only that, Sharona, they're detecting our faces. They can tell if you have children in the car. And I mean, so here's one of the responses to it is, well, there's no expectation of privacy in public. That's true, but there is expectation about government watching us and forcing us to pay for it in public, because what public is and the actual technical definition of public is government. It's the government that needs to watch. And so I want to propose something, and I'll take this maybe to a city council meeting or something like that. I want to propose for the government safety, I want to have a camera system that watches government officials 24/7, what they do, where they spend their money, where they go. It's for their safety and
Yeah.
it's for community safety. We want to make sure that government is watched very hard, of course, for everyone's peace and safety.
Well, and just to be clear on this story coming out of New York, the city council voted no. The mayor declared an emergency to prevent the flock cameras from being taken down. Now the mayor is being sued. Mayor Carmelo is being sued by her own city council over this. The council is so alarmed that they're trying to strip this mayor of all of her power to declare emergencies at all. With this kind of hysteria, it really does tell you like what's going on. And for the and President Trump, God bless him, he needs to return to being the president, a man of the people, because this is so out of touch and so absolutely ridiculous. He's not even reading the room. All he needs to do is look at Texas and see how even Governor Abbott has finally acquiesced to the non-data centers in rural areas at a very minimum right now. They are not popular. Mr. Wonderful can take his investments and go home because the country at large and people at large do not want the data centers. They certainly don't want the flock cameras. Here's what's interesting about those flock cameras too. You just said people know that they're being surveilled, but look at what happens in some of those videos that we've watched where people are literally have their phone cameras and they're filming liberals. They're filming people who are, I shouldn't even say liberals. They're filming the typical kind of blue haired, transgender, LGBTQ mobby people, filming them, and they get so mad and hysterical, but they're the same types of people who are somewhat defending these flock cameras and asking for more peace and safety through the use of these, or the boomers, the 60 plus, who are wanting these cameras, who are wanting more surveillance. I've seen the headlines coming out of Dallas, Texas, and out of Tarrant County here in Texas, saying that there were criminals caught because of the flock cameras, and yet the people continue to say, no, there's not enough evidence to justify the use of the flock cameras. The data is being used for other things. Ultimately, what do you think is going to continue to happen here? And I'm going to share a video just so you know that will probably support what you're saying. But what do you
Yeah.
think ultimately is going to happen with these flock cameras at large, especially seeing that the CEO clearly has President Trump's support? Sub, it's just really obvious when you look at deflock.org and you see how fast that map spread that guy has had federal support for his flock
Yeah.
cameras rather. He's at
It's
federal support. This is not organic.
And I would say, I mean, people say that the CEO and President Trump, for that matter, are out of touch with the American people and the will of the American people. I would take that a step further and say they don't care, because there's an agenda that's being pushed by the powers that be. Some of those same powers, I believe, are also in part, at least in part, controlling Trump, which is why we've seen a different version of Trump over the last year or year and a half, because donors and others that want to completely control society have a strong hold on the powers that be. And so, I mean, I think the question people need to ask, not what price are we willing to pay for safety? What price are we willing to pay for freedom?
Yeah.
And if you're willing to give up your safety for freedom, then what's the quote? You deserve neither, right?
Benjamin
And so
Franklin. Yes.
the American spirit has to wake up, and I hope that in large part it is. I think there's always going to be a part of our society now that's completely doomed. They're fully medicated, they're fully vaccinated, they're fully indoctrinated. They want to have everything at no cost. They want to have free everything, welfare, all that. They don't want to work for it. And they're always going to be on the side of give me more stuff and govern me really hard because that's the life that they've chosen to live. It's very easy and meaningless. But I
Yes.
also think that there's another part of society that's waking up. And I don't just mean like people, that are sovereign citizens and that are demanding their rights. I think just normal, average, everyday people that are starting to see the fine line between safety and freedom. And they're saying, do I want to live in a Hunger Games scenario where there's no predictability? Everything in life is so predictable. There's no spontaneity anymore. There's no opportunity anymore. Everybody has the same amount, but we're all safe, like the president of this flock system is trying to say. What price would you be willing to pay for safety? It's literally right out of so many movie scripts we've seen. The
Hmm.
good guys in the movies are the Katnisses, like in Hunger Games, that are resisting the tyranny in the name of freedom, in the name of morals, in the name of what is right, not what is
Hmm.
safe. I would much rather be free than safe. If
Hmm.
if I could go back and live in the 1800s again, where we had, we didn't really even have a federal government, we had real freedom, but there was also risk with that. I would gladly take the freedom along with the risk than the perceived lack of risk with the safety. Because what happens is when you get the safety and they say, oh, you're going to be safe, uh, the risk with that is that now you're under control. And by who? Well, by a government that it's just people. It's just a bunch of people that want to control you. That's all it is. So there's still risk with safety. They just convince you that the risk comes out of the equation with it, which is absolutely not true. There's
It's
always risk, no matter if you're in a free society, in a communist society, in a socialist society, in a Marxist
yeah.
society. There's huge risk, and I would rather have the risk with freedom.
Well, listen, here on the America's Mom Show, we are compliant. We follow the law. If anybody ever doubts it, just revert back to this video I'm about to share with you, where we are helping the government figure out how these deflockers are taking down the flocking cameras. So this is not to be used for educational purposes at all, strictly to inform the government on how this is happening. Take a look.
This is a flock camera, one of about 100,000 installed across the United States to watch over you and keep you safe. But there are criminals among us who believe that these violate their privacy and human rights. These hooligans are going out and purchasing battery-operated reciprocating saws like this one and 6-inch Diablo steel demon blades, knowing it's more efficient and quieter than angle grinders. They go out dressed in non-identifying disposable clothing, including work gloves and full face coverage so as to not display the color of their skin, their eyes, their hair color, or their tattoos. Of course, these people are careful, so they make purchases in cash and keep no receipts. In preparation of their illicit activities, these vile individuals use deflock.org to pick a target and plan a route that avoids camera detection. With all phones, smartwatches, and geolocating devices left at home, these villains know if they're not caught in the act, they'll get away scot-free. I've set up a demonstration on my private property to show you just how efficient the lunatics have become. With their saw wrapped in a trash bag, they approach from behind the camera's line of sight and tear right through this black aluminum alloy post. Hopefully Flock has secured the cameras a little better so they don't get a personal injury lawsuit. Once these degenerates have destroyed the post, they go for the camera too. Even the solar panel. They're thorough in their destruction to ensure maximum monetary loss, and they always leave the remnants behind as a visceral message to all. After this, the cold-hearted anarchist makes their predetermined getaway, casually yet swift. By adhering to this specific set of principles, this wild subculture of flock hunters ensures that their MO is always the same. The modus operandi never changes. That way, if one of their members is picked up by law enforcement, they will face one charge of vandalism, but tying them to any previous or subsequent acts of destruction will be nearly impossible for the prosecutor. Some say flock hunters are domestic terrorists, others true patriots protecting our rights, our freedom, and our future. As for me, well, I'm just an unbiased, independent journalist.
Those darn deflockers. Darn deflockers out there protecting and preserving privacy for the American people, or are they terrorists? What's your take?
Well, whatever you do, don't try that at home. Leave that for the professionals. We don't encourage any type of criminal
No.
behavior on this program, any type of tyrannical behavior such as that. I think it's outdated. When the founding fathers, when they wrote those founding documents, the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, I think they just really were not considering how benevolent our government truly is. They had no idea how good and moral and how valuable the government would be today, and how much they only are there out of just sheer benevolence, and they
They
only
love
want our
us.
best interest in mind. They love us.
They
So
love
I
us.
think the fathers just, unfortunately, they counted on human nature deteriorating and being ugly and all that. They didn't see how much we would progress by this time. So when they wrote things like the Second Amendment, which was there to bear arms against a tyrannical government, they had no idea how benevolent and how amazing and kind and generous
Yes.
our government would be today. So do not
You're just
ever
saying that.
take matters into your own
Mhm.
hands. I totally agree with that guy. Something that should absolutely never be done. Those just beasts of people, those criminals that only belong in jail that do things like
Yes,
that. So
absolutely.
yeah,
Deflock.org. Go check it out, though. Go
yeah.
check it out and go see what's going on. It was really interesting in our community. The people, not us, actually, we didn't have anything to do with it. Other people in our community, deflock cameras went up, and the community at large did not want it. Unfortunately, our constitutional sheriff is for whatever reason acting like he publicly supports it. So I don't understand what that's about, but we'll figure it out. Anyway, ends up they do an open records request to figure out the cost of these things and who paid for it. Initially, our county, so this is just information for you guys where you're at so that you can look into this yourselves. Maybe this happened in your county. They tried to say they basically had a grant for the flock cameras. Turns out, though, they ended up using an extra $16,000 from taxpayers to put towards these flock cameras, and the people are very upset. We'll just put it that way. They are very upset. Nobody wants these. Get your feet on the ground, elected officials. Get your feet on the ground and listen to your people. Whatever you were paid for the flock cameras, I guarantee you it was not worth having the indignation of your people surround you, because you will be removed from office. I mean, the things that we are hearing already just in our tiny little town about this, and the people who
Yeah.
are in charge right now and how they won't be in charge much longer is, I mean, people are, they get it. They understand the big picture. I appreciate that so
And this
much.
is inexcusable at this point.
Yes.
From what we've seen since 2020, and it's been it's been a lot longer than that. But I just mean for the average person, what we've seen, we've got to stop this nonsense about trusting federal funds that are going to cover this or that. All you have to do is do this or that. That's what they pulled in 2020 to 2022 with all the fake stuff that went on and all the lives that were ruined during that time because of as I said earlier, the powers that be and the world governments sort of uniting to do this kind of stuff all throughout the world, and it's always for our safety. We know the lines now. We understand what's going on. We've got to stop getting fooled by this rhetoric. And I mean, we the people, I also mean the elected officials in local communities. You've got to stop. We can come up with money some other way if we need extra money. Uh, this trusting this whatever world federal system to keep us safe and all this stuff, it's inexcusable. Isn't it getting old now just seeing this over and over and over again now with these data centers and with these flock cameras? It's ridiculous, and most of us all know it. So it needs to end. Or yeah, I mean, I think at the very least, people are going to start getting voted out because
Yeah.
communities are upset.
They're mad. It's a violation of our trust. It really is. And not that we're supposed to, like you said, we are not supposed to love government. And by the way, when you said that, it made me think like with President Trump, with the obvious disconnects that we're seeing. That is a reminder to the public, you are not supposed to be in love with your president. You're not supposed to be acquiescing
Mhm.
everything to your president, no matter what. Like, government is a necessary evil. It's a founding principle. That is a founding principle. We're supposed to adhere to that and stop surrendering our common sense just because we like the guy that's in charge. So I was thinking about that, Neil, and I was like, I'm really glad that he's making some missteps this way, because it reminds everybody, stop trusting government. The minute I
Yeah.
always said it, you've heard me say it, whenever friends of ours became elected officials, we were no longer friends. Now I'm your accountability, just like all the citizens are supposed to be. We're all supposed to be your accountability. That's why, you think about Cash Patel and how shocked he was that everybody's demanding accountability.
Yep.
But when you are in a position of in the government of authority and trust like that, all of a sudden you don't have any friends. I think this is like basic 101. If you're in an official government position, you have no more friends. Okay. You only have accountability. I wish elected officials would just get that through their heads so we can move on to the next thing, which is do what's right, like you said, by the American people, and you won't have a problem. Stay constitutional, and you won't have a problem. And don't try to gaslight us. Don't try to gaslight us into
Yeah.
peace and safety is now constitutional. Stop.
Right. And the idea of supporting a personality rather than
Yes.
policy, that's a cult. If you
Can't do
just
that.
support a personality and you 100% give blind support, and everybody always says, "Well, we don't know
Yeah.
what's going on behind the scenes. Well, we don't know this." That's fine, but I know what I see with my eyes, and I
Yeah.
know the policies that are being instituted. I know the
Right.
words that are being said publicly, and I can
Mhm.
judge those. Taking the emotion out of it, and this Trump following has turned into a Trump cult, especially with many of these conservative ink influencers, and
It's
it's
been
it's
pretty bad.
nauseating at this
It has
point.
been a bad. It's been a
As
really
if
bad.
as if Trump is beyond accountability or beyond making mistakes. I mean, give me a break, you guys. Seriously.
Very strange. But for $7,500, people will do a
Hmm.
lot more than even Judas did. So
Yeah.
$7,500 is the going rate, guys. All right. Okay. We're going to switch gears for just a minute. I'm gonna bring in a couple of headlines. Before we do Freedom Hollers, Michael, I want to do the nanny story. So if you can put that picture up. This is Molly Elizabeth Duncan. Did you hear about this lady?
No.
Oh my gosh. Oh, so this is probably the biggest nightmare of parents anywhere. Okay. This lady, 26 years old, she was hired by toddler parents. She has actually babysat for the last 6 years. It's kind of been her profession to be a nanny for the last 10 years, excuse me, for the last 10 years. And recently she was charged on behalf of two different children, taking pictures and video of assaulting two children under the age of two in separate scenarios, and then posting these videos and pictures on Snapchat for other predators to see. This is probably one of the most disturbing stories that I've seen, because I mean, I looked at pictures of this lady. She looks so normal, so nice. She's been a nanny for 10 years. All of a sudden, she says that she had never done this before until these last two children. The judge did not agree. Obviously, he said you just didn't get caught, is his opinion. Probably true. But the assault on one of the toddlers, that's not even a toddler, really, under two, baby, on the baby, was so bad that she was actually hospitalized for several days. She'll have a scar. Apparently, the mother said during the her time to give her statement, her victim statement during the sentencing, and this little toddler is damaged, apparently permanently, because of the abuse she sustained by this Molly Elizabeth Duncan. Now, we're always talking about, the trannies, which that has its own category, but this is like this is a nightmare, because again, you're looking at someone who looks like they'd just be a normal person. Everything should be good, has all this experience with kids, really would meet the criteria, came with references even to the parents, because I was like, how did she even ever get hired? Came with references and ends up being your worst nightmare. I mean, just a horrendous story. How likely is this that somebody goes from nothing to 100 like this? How likely is
Yeah.
that?
God, it's so. I mean, I don't even know how to find the words to describe this kind of thing. It's so unnatural to, I mean, to see it happening. I mean, unfortunately, in our disgusting society, we get used to seeing the male adult men pedophiles offending on kids, especially in the school system now and all that. But lately, you're seeing a lot of females come
Mhm.
out. It seems like every day in the news, you're seeing this come out. And the Bible talks about turning that which is natural, turning it around, inverting it. And that's what Satan does. He inverts everything that's natural, normal, and neutral. He takes it, inverts it, and twists it and puts it on its face. And he does it to spite God. And I think God's most valuable treasure is the children. And Jesus made that really clear when he said, "Let the little children come to me, for of such is the kingdom of heaven." And he says, if anyone were to harm one of these or cause one of these children to sin, it'd be better for them for a millstone to be tied around their neck and be cast into the deepest sea.
Yeah.
God made it very clear children are special to him. And I think what's happening in our society today through so many things, through all the programming, all the medications, all the stuff that you and I have talked about for years, uh, somehow in some way there's such a disconnect, even with mothers now,
Yeah.
that this inversion is happening where instead of a nanny who would naturally, a woman really, who are caretakers generally speaking, who should be in that role and someone that you should be able to trust.
Yeah.
I think there's some sort of demonic inlet happening right now. This portal that's opened that these ones are allowing in, and we're doing the exact opposite of what's natural, what's normal, what's neutral. And it's the same thing with what we've talked about with the trans community. It's the same thing with pedophilic behavior. It's the same thing every time you see, one of these new stories come out about a mother harming her children, whatever.
Yeah.
We're living in that time. And I don't know how else to explain it except this is a severe and serious spiritual battle. And we need to
Mhm.
have our armor on. And parents need to be very vigilant in protecting their children.
It was so interesting. I'm trying to think of who it was. I have been racking my brain the last 2 days. There was a really popular person who said, um, I know it's a song, but someone was talking about how they were kind of watching all this kind of stuff happen from 2020 on, watching the big COVID era. And they were like, I need to go back to church. I have got to get back to
Hmm.
church. And for all the flaws that church has, because all the humans are there, all the people are there, the accountability that it brings in your life to be around like-minded people who have something that is a measurement of good in their life. We need to be doing that. People need to go back to church.
Yeah.
they need to get they need to get back because I'm wondering in one of the statements that this woman made, Molly Elizabeth Duncan, the perpetrator, she said that she had begun surrounding herself with certain individuals that were apparently slowly kind of grew. She was trying to make the case that she was groomed into doing this behavior. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not, but there's no doubt that you become like the people that you associate with and hang out with. And when you see that, when you see those red flags, you got to roll, you got to run, you got to go. You can't hang out with those people that are contrary to, like you said, normal, natural, neutral
Yeah.
behavior. And God is definitely the X factor. Thankfully, this woman received 70 years in federal prison for abusing these toddlers, and she also received four consecutive by the state of Ohio, four consecutive life
Life
terms
sentence.
as
Yeah.
well, without parole.
So I have thoughts on that too. And I know we're
Mhm.
not in a perfect society. In a perfect society, we would not have to pay for this woman to live for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
We're talking about 40 to $50,000 a year of taxpayers paying for one person to
Wow.
spend in prison. That adds up to millions of dollars. We'll be funding to keep this person alive in prison. And I know people say, well, she should suffer. And, sorry, excuse me. She should suffer and death is too easy. I don't see it that way. I think once these people get caught and we know it, and there's a biblical standard of, there's eyewitness evidence, there's 100%
Right.
basically as close as you can get to it that this person's guilty, then justice needs to be swift, severe, and over, and the taxpayers shouldn't fund to keep this person alive. And I don't want someone to suffer in this life, like, not that they
Right.
shouldn't. I don't want her to suffer the rest of her life in prison. I want her sentence to be quick. I believe in the death penalty. And then I want God
Yes.
to decide what, vengeance he carries out. It's not up for us to carry out 50 years of vengeance on someone. So I see it a little bit
Mm,
differently. I think that if we stopped delaying justice, I think we would see fewer of these incidents happening. I think people are isolated and they get to the point where they think they're going to get away with things. And even
mhm.
if they, in their mind, if they get caught, they think that the justice won't be swift or severe. And so, and fortunately for this woman, obviously spending the rest of her life in prison is better than 10-year probation sentence or whatever a lot of these sex offenders get. But I
Yes.
still think we have a lot of work to do in our society. Our justice system is extremely flawed. I think it's one of the reasons why people are carrying out such disgusting things is because there's not swift and severe justice.
Well, let's pretend that you were the judge and you were going to cast the verdicts for these specifically. I've been highlighting a lot of the cases of toddlers. They're the perfect victim because they can't talk. The what they can endure according to these stories that we've been sharing. I can't understand a parent not knowing or seeing what's going on. I don't know. I can't imagine that. I'm trying to understand how that happens, how it goes on for as long as it goes on
Mhm.
before they finally realize what's happening. Maybe you're just can't put that you just can't consider that. I'm not sure. I don't know I don't know how this happens. But what these littles are going through and what they endure, um and then still survive it is just unbelievable. But what would a perfect judgment be in your opinion? So taking the same case here, we have two toddlers, uh, assaulted, pictures and video put out for the whole world to see, for other predators to have to live on forever and ever, because those people are not, incarcerated. There should be a continuing, probably. You tell me. What would a perfect demonstration of justice in your mind look like for these particular stories?
Well, let's take into account the fact that I believe the Bible. And if you believe the Bible, then you believe that God instituted the death penalty. And this was before Israel even existed. This is before this was a universal law for mankind, and there were various reasons why, or various offenses, um, crimes that why the death penalty should be carried out. So I believe it should be public execution, and and that's in line with what the Bible teaches, and I think people need to see it. And again, if it's not swift and if it's not severe, then it gives license for society to do whatever they want. And I don't think that my view is at all unpopular either. I think most people, just as our founders did, just as we've had written in our laws and still do up to this day, I think most people believe in the death penalty because that's a biblically based teaching, and it's both Old and New Testament, and it's backed by universal law where if you take the life of somebody, which I mean it could even be argued that there's things you can do worse to people than take their life, but
Right.
they've you're stealing the entire innocence of a child.
Right.
And I think that, and some states are looking at it. I think, was it Florida, or was one of the states
Yes, Florida.
that, yeah, for certain child sex offense crimes, death penalties on the table. And so it's not, yeah, sometimes feel like you're weird or it's an isolated view or something, but I don't think so. I think most people still want to protect children. I just think that our society's gotten so weird, so isolated, especially since 2020, that
Mhm,
people are finding themselves doing things that they never would have dreamed of doing. And in order
mhm,
to swing that pendulum back, it's got to be there has to be some crazy things, not vigilante type justice.
mhm,
You hope it doesn't come to that. Hopefully it's orderly, but it needs to be done, and it needs to be done like major in a major swift way. And I think it should be done
mhm.
publicly, so people can see, and then your brain begins to tell you, and the children we're raising begin to understand. I mean, that's how they, in many cultures and many societies over the last thousands of years, people were executed publicly and
Yeah.
children and everybody watched. I'm not
Yeah.
necessarily saying that's a healthy thing, but you got the idea that, man, if I do what that guy did, I'm going to end up hanging there on that rope too. So whether it's stealing a horse or violently, acting out or killing somebody or whatever it is, or God forbid, offending on one of these children, if people just knew, if you're found guilty, if you actually did it and it's proven, you're going to be publicly executed. I think it would deter these crimes. I really do.
Well, it's funny that this is the transition into our last story today, but it is what it is. I actually didn't really plan that because I did. Well, actually, I better show a video in between just so I don't get accused of calling for violence. Freedom Hollers, I want to share this video with you. So, just one more good news thing. I just want to share this with all of you guys. There's good things happening in our country in spite of stories like this. And you're right, the uptick of female offenders is just wild, especially in the public school system. Whoa, holy cow. Like I get very sensitive now. I'm always kind of like a side eyeing female teachers and things like now. I'm sorry, I can't help it because there's so many stories of female teachers
Hmm.
acting like little deviants with teenage boys. So anyway, good news is there are companies like Freedom Hollers. Neil and I, we are all about American manufacturing, American production, America first. Please hear that, America first. And so I wanted to share this with you. Freedomhollers.com is looking for great American patriots who want to work. And this is how they are getting rid of illegal drivers in this country. I love it so much that I wanted to share the video with you. If you are home right now wondering, what can I do to help my country, to feed my family, and to get rid of these illegals who are driving on our highways and killing our people, this is for you.
Are you a veteran and not an illegal alien?
Yippee-ki-yay,
Did you drive things like this? Or this? Maybe even this? You drove the toughest roads on Earth, defending our freedoms.
stick around.
Why not get paid to drive on ours?
You show me a pay stub for $72,000 on it, I quit my job right now.
How about 6 figures? Become a freedom hauler.
You ever think about that? I like it.
We like it too.
It's a real blessing.
And we're blowing up fraud. We want you on the front lines. Your road, your rules. Make your own hours, your schedule.
You sure about that?
Oh, we're sure.
Keep talking.
And did I mention medical benefits and sign-on bonuses? Training costs are completely covered for veterans because our heroes treat safety like a mission and rack up more miles doing it. Best part? You'll be on the road in a few weeks.
It's happening! Everybody stay calm!
What are you waiting for?
You can do it!
Your next mission deploys now.
I love it. What do you think? Best commercial
Wow.
ever.
So is this a new company?
This is a new company.
That's
This is real.
Yeah, this is like the anti whatever, they're finding all these drivers now that don't even have a driver's license, and they're truck drivers for these companies, and they're causing accidents, and sadly people are literally dying and all this stuff. So this is like the answer to that,
It
the
is.
patriotic American answer to that, where people can actually step in and make real money, and you can be rewarded for being a real American citizen, not one of these, oh, I
Well,
don't know, I
and
don't know what they
and
are.
and this is a huge problem for us. The supply chain is an issue here in America. We need great American people who are courageous, who don't get scared, and can. It's a hard job. Obviously, I've talked to many truckers. I just met a female trucker not too long ago. She was super buff and like I never would have thought she was a trucker, but I should have known. And she was former military. Anyway, amazing. I love what Freedom Haulers is doing. If you are somebody sitting at home going, I don't know what I'm going to do, especially if you are a veteran, they are looking largely for a veteran workforce, which I love this. This is so appropriate. Go to freedomhaulers.com. I don't even know these guys, but I love the video. I just love all the everything about it. I just like this is what we're looking for. Yesterday, you and I were walking out of church, and not to like call anybody out, but somebody was like, "Rah, rah, rah, rah," and I'm like, well, what are you doing to help things? Well, what should I do? Well, what company are you starting? What business are you starting? What are you doing to put American manufacturing on the forefront? And we just need to make a decision like Freedom Haulers is doing, like TCI is doing, where we're just making a decision that we're going to be in the game. Get in the game. It's time. Put your country first. Create a business. You'll figure it out. You've got chat. You've got whatever the other guy is called. You've got Google, you've got books, you've got all these amazing first rate people who are trying to teach us all how to do this. Main Street Millionaire, one of my favorite books on the whole planet. You've got resources. Do what Freedom Hollers is doing. I love it. I love what they're doing. If you guys end up reaching out to them, please message me. I want to know how it goes. I'm very, very excited. This last story is the dumbest story on the planet. And I just figured we'd end this way because we should end with an outrage circus since I'm always telling you guys to avoid it. This is one that's going to need American people and parents to step up and say, not in my neighborhood. I'm giving this is preemptive today. Okay. We're being preemptive because you know that in every dumb blue state, they are going to adopt this. California, Colorado, I know you're going to do it. I know you're going to do it. Minnesota is going to be the first state in the union to adopt transgender dolls with removable body parts for the public school system, ages 4 to 10 years old. I'm not kidding. Take a look. This is being reported on every major news station right now, whether it's fake news or other. New York Post puts it out. Taxpayer funded trans dolls with removable genitalia are hitting classrooms this fall for kids as young as 4 to learn about different options. Mike Lindell, please win in Minnesota. This has to be nuked immediately.
I don't know whether to laugh or cry. I really don't. It's some sort of comedy horror show that we're living in. And here's the thing. When does the madness end? Let's say everybody, 100% of everybody in Minnesota or maybe even the United States said, hey, we're all on board with transgender genital removal dolls or whatever you call them. We're all on board with it. Let's just do it. This is great. Do you think that they would be satisfied? Do you think they'd be like, okay, good, everybody's a it never ends. They would be on to the next disgusting, despicable, degenerate, and any other D word that you can think of, evil,
Yes.
wicked. They're like, they can't stop. And they don't just want to stop with their own personal crap that they do. And if they're doing this stuff publicly, imagine what these people that are coming up with these ideas are doing behind closed doors. I don't want to know. I don't think anybody wants to know, but they won't quit.
No.
It's going to be the next thing. There's never going to be anything where they say, okay, we're good. Okay. Like if everybody just accepts homosexuals and accepts trans, then they're going to be on to, well,
Well, they already are.
if we can love who we love, then what does age matter, right?
Exactly.
And
Age
then
ain't
if
nothing but a
society were
number.
to accept
Mhm.
pedophilia, then it would have to be who knows what. The mind can't even imagine, and I don't want to imagine the next things are going to go to. I will remind people of the obvious that once a society becomes so degenerate,
Mhm.
uh, this little kind of history book that we know that I mentioned earlier, it's called the Bible. Some people have heard of it. It's pretty popular. It talks about this creator being named God who just finally gets totally
Shut
disgusted
up.
with it as well and says, I'm done.
Mhm.
Now he's patient. He's not wanting people to perish, but there does come a point where he says enough's enough. And in the meantime, he's looking for people that will hold the line and that will be willing to, you know, be the arms, the hands, the feet uh, of God, and saying this is not how we're supposed to act as human beings, as God's creation. And my word, but that's where my mind goes when I see a trans with removable genital dolls. I'm
Yep.
like, I think we're reaching a peak where because I'm trying to see this through God's eyes. Like, all right, this is not what I meant to create. I think we are time for some sort of great reset. Something has to change here. In the meantime, like you were saying earlier, let's get activated. And I think it goes beyond complaining on social media. I think we do real things. You're involved currently in a real thing to try to help people wake up to what's being done in certain
Mhm.
communities, specifically in
Mhm.
Colorado, regarding children. That there are predators out there, that there are, you know, things happening that ought not to be happening, and it's not going to change unless the people, we are the hands and feet of the
Mhm.
Lord, and I so that's where my brain goes. I don't know what else to say about the degeneracy except that it never stops. They'll never be satisfied. If we accept one form of their lifestyle, then we have to accept the next form and the next form and the next form, and it'll never end.
Until
So
till we're seriously watching parades with bestiality coming
yeah,
down in front of children.
there
Like
you go.
they're already naked. You already have homosexuals and transgenders walking down the streets for these pride parades doing unspeakable things, and furries, don't forget the furries, doing unspeakable things in front of kids, and nobody does anything. All of those decency laws go out the window. They get special rights. They have special protections that you and I will never have. They
Yep.
have special rights to do this stuff in front of children. And I want to elaborate just a little bit on these genitalia dolls for a second, because this is really important. You know, I think it's very critical to call to for the public to know who these people are, what their names are, and where they come from. The dolls began as a research program in the University of Minnesota, funded largely by taxpayer and federal dollars, guys.
Mm.
The medical school's Department of Family Medicine and Community Health. Alumni, any conservative alumni, you might want to reach out. This was spearheaded by two members of the school's faculty who I will be researching before next week. So we'll know next week, next Wednesday, because we're going to be off the air Friday through Monday, but next Wednesday we'll be back. And that is Diane Berg and G. Nick Ryder. This is taken out of Yahoo News and the New York Post, both educators in the school's Department of Family Medicine and Community Health. This is what they had to say, okay? This is what Berg had to say, Diane Berg. It's really important to address the belief that I'm not a quote real boy because I don't have these private parts versus I am a real boy, quote, whatever my anatomy looks like, Berg told the Foundation's magazine in the now deleted article. It's about helping children develop tools to cope with messages in society that could lead to shame. I am not kidding you. These people are sick, sick, super sick.
Yeah,
Minnesota.
and they're always you can tell because everything they do, it goes against nature. It goes against
Yeah.
reason.
You know,
People don't do this stuff naturally. They have to learn these types of behaviors.
yeah.
And so yeah, it's bad.
It's
And
funny.
amen to uh, Mike Lindell, pulling number one in the
Number
great
one.
state of Minnesota, which was once a great state, which
Mhm.
somebody like Mike could restore it.
By double digits even.
Yeah,
He is, like, crushing the competition right now, and we
yeah.
love to see it. He was endorsed by President Trump. Recently, there was this big, deal about some kind of illegal thing or whatever, support somehow. People know Mike Lindell, that's the trouble with the left. People know Mike Lindell, they're never gonna believe for 5 seconds that he supports illegal, immigrants working in place of American citizens. He literally owns an American company, owned and operated by American citizens. It is just ridiculous. So we are absolutely cheering him on and helping wherever we can to support his campaign. If you have not done it, what is it? MikeLindellForGov.com?
MikeLindellGov.com, I believe. Yeah, yeah.
MikeLindellGov.com. Go check it out. Go support the campaign. He is doing phenomenal. And you guys know that here's the way it works. The last 10 days of an election are the craziest. That's when the big money and the PAC sweep in and they try to pervert the message. They'll make it seem like that Mike Lindell wants to confiscate your guns, just like they did to our candidate in Colorado, one of the most pro 2A candidates with years on the legislative record supporting 2A, and all of a sudden $1 million flows in to pervert the message and say that he is not 2A. So you'll see things like that in the last 10 days of the election with Mike Lindell. So he needs to be able to compete with that messaging. So go to Mike Lindell Gov, Mike Lindell Gov.
MikeLindellGov.com.
Com. All right, wonderful. Well, guys, thank you for being with us. Neil, thank you for jumping in with your opinions and thoughts about what's going on. You're right. People need to know they are not crazy. This is insane. The stuff, the things that we've discussed today, a lot of them are just insane. They don't fit with humanity, period. They are so obviously spiritual in nature and demonic, really, by force. And people need to keep calling it out and stop ignoring when you can and it comes to your doorway, do not ignore. Okay, do not ignore. You don't need to necessarily go searching for it anymore either because it just kind of comes right to you. You know, Gen- gender genitalia dolls, Minnesota for your children. This is
Clown
the
World.
world.
Yeah.
Clown world. All right, you guys, thank you so much for being with us today on America's Mom. We'll look forward to seeing you guys back here on Wednesday, 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And remember, all that is necessary for evil to prevail is for good men and women to do absolutely nothing. But we have not descended from weak men. So get activated. Don't forget, dflock.org. See you guys back here soon.